Good morning. How'd you get on yesterday? Typical Friday coupon, not hugely appealing. These were the standout matches. Marseille in a whole heap of bother, but if you looked at recent research or recent head-to-heads, you'll have a look at Auxerre's recent form. That was an eye-catcher against Lyon 2-2, scoring 2+ goals in each of the last 4 matches. So not necessarily outsiders. With Marseille now in trouble at home, not exactly a very strong bet unless you got involved at 0-3 at half time. That way, liability is extremely low, and you're still going to give Marseille a chance with home advantage to start scoring. That goal came, well, it was okay. If you topped up at 0-3, you'd have got some semblance of movement from the market at 1-3, given the fact 25 minutes left. But another poor performance from Marseille, manager for the Kosh. Martigues, newly promoted, vulnerable. First goal, penalty. Could have had it wrapped up by half-time, but yet another clown missing a penalty. Erling Haaland was the last one. Loite, 67th minute equaliser. That was your out. You had a couple of opportunities you could cash out there for a decent enough return or wait, knowing you're playing a newly promoted side for that second goal, if you think Amiens could score it. That's the risk reward there. About a £4 loss on the draw for the hope of £85 on Amiens. So very tempting indeed. That 1-1 would have produced just a marginal loss had you stayed in, or a green screen had you cashed out at the 1-1. Watch out for Red Star, just a mention of
This
them.
market is now in
promoted again.
play.
And despite the market giving them a chance, they were duly dispatched. So this could spell trouble for Red Star if they're being given a shot. They've been given favouritism in some match, and they can't oblige the newly promoted side. They might be vulnerable at all odds. Union Berlin and Freiburg 0-0 here. Don't know whether I would have laid the very late draw here. Yet another idiot missing a penalty. The bugbear of the trader. Utrecht and Heracles, very underwhelming win for the correct team to win. Utrecht, Heracles newly promoted a season or two ago. And young Volendam and Utrecht is all about when Volendam were going to score. With that red card already, 1.3 pre-match, 1.2 at half-time. What's your value? That's the thing. Do you delay? Try to get those draw odds as low as possible. And once Volendam score, the draw odds are going to rise to double figures because of that red card. So it's up to you when you lay that draw. Other angles in, potential win to nil. Could you stretch to 2-0? It looks an obvious play, given it's a 1.3 favourite against 11 players, against 10 men, sorry. On to today, and it's the last day for a while where we're going to have competitive Saturday Elite League football. So make the most of it. Come to a live stream if you can. So let's have a look.
This market has been suspended.
In the Jupiler League, nothing greatly appeals there. Dender, newly promoted. You saw with the French Ligue 1 side vulnerable yesterday. Watch out for Dender. At home as well. Similar odds to Red Star, I think, against Estac Twan. You saw that 0-3 scoreline. So these sides could be vulnerable. Dender against Leuven. You're going to start seeing patterns emerge as well. So let's have a quick look at soccerstats.com. And we'll just have a walk through because we're getting to that stage of the season now. We've got plenty of matches under our belts, and it's worth having an old school look at some of these matches, particularly with the challenge table, which will give you some patterns, particularly for newly promoted sides like Dender. Are they vulnerable? Are they as vulnerable as we expect them to be? Or have they put in a good fist of it? Well, at the start of the season, very warmly indeed, but it looks as if the wheels are coming off just a little bit now. The only win recently since the 13th of September was a single goal win. When they did score 2 goals at home, Well, one of them was a win, the other one a defeat against Mechelen. Leuven, though, do they look capable? Not really away from home. Only the one win coming in the last match. So the challenge table, 11th against 12th. Both sides tend to perform far better against bottom half than top half. So this will be a competitive match, as befits the odds. It's not one I can really unpack, is it? Two strugglers likely to perform better in the bottom half of the table. Not a greatly appealing match, that one. Brentford and Bournemouth, 2.55 the favourite. Already you're on the back foot with that one. It's a difficult one to unpack. Two sides who just have a very familiar feel to them. Let's have a look. It's not one of those matches I can unpack. I find it unreadable. And therefore, I find it difficult to get trading angles into a match like this. I can't give you a comfortable idea of how the match will unfold or who is preferred. Neither does the market. 2.55 the favourite. Both teams' defensive records and scoring capabilities suggest a high-scoring affair. Brentford's lack of clean sheets, Bournemouth's attacking form, so it might be a neutral play. 1-1 draw, can be over 2.5 goals for the trader, depending when the goals are scored, of course. Crystal Palace and Fulham already. This is a London derby. What you've got to be wary of is Crystal Palace are just hitting a positive spot at the moment. They actually did have a chance of scoring 2 goals in a match. They've scored 2 goals for the first time in a very long time. They'd scored 2 against Aston Villa, but Eberechi's goal was disallowed. So there is a hint that the 2 goals that we got from this Glasner at the back end of last season for Crystal Palace are starting to re-emerge after a very barren spell. But let's not get carried away. It was only Wolverhampton Wanderers who scored 2 goals against. Nearly 3 goals. So there is possibilities for Crystal Palace against the right team. Is there a hint that they're scoring 2 goals again? This is a London derby, so I'm not going to give you any solutions. 2.5 the favourite, absolutely wide open. But watch out for the potential for the 2 goals for Palace. Or are they going to revert to 1 goal? We'll soon find out today. I think it's encouraging signs for Palace that Glasner has them scoring again. West Ham and Everton. Well, this is crucial. West Ham will feel they can get the win here today. They are on a bit of a run. If we look at their seasonal form, you don't fancy them at all. But if we look at this, yes, it's Ipswich, but that one against Manchester United will be a positive, I'm sure, that they can take into this match. Both teams are scoring, though, in that recent comeback at home. But against Nottingham Forest, done by a very defensive side. And what do we have in the Toffees? Got a very defensive side indeed, don't we? A recent run of under 2.5 goals in the last 4 Premier League matches for Everton. With Southampton beating them, that was a very poor result. They do have 2 goals in them against the right opponent, Everton. You can't discount them on that basis. So you've got a West Ham, 2 consecutive home wins, bit of momentum, playing an Everton with a strong defensive bent and under 2.5 goals. You see they've conceded 1 goal maximum. So this is an interesting match. It's very tough to unpack, though. It really is, with that newfound winning streak for the Hammers. We know that Everton at the best can score 2. Wolves against Southampton. This, quite simply, is a lay the draw late on. It's a must-win relegation 6-pointer already for these 2 teams. It's a must-win. Got to win. You're stuck. The winner will temporarily move out to the bottom of the table. So this is already crucial. Must win. One of those matches you will target certainly for any late draw to end. Both sides will be targeting 3 points. Brighton and Manchester City. Again, the market's lack of confidence in Manchester City continues on with a 1.7 quote away from home. It's this early season Champions League. It's far too big. The occasion's far too big, far too early. These big names are playing huge sides too early in the competition. It's been completely revamped. Hence, you're seeing the wheels falling off ever so slightly on the likes of Arsenal and Man City. But Liverpool still moving along very nicely. 2 consecutive defeats for Brighton, one of them in the EFL Cup. Don't take that one seriously. So you can discount the EFL Cup form. 2-1 loss to Liverpool is no great shakes. Nothing to worry about too much. They do have 2 goals in them at the right time, Brighton. I think they could be another thorn in Man City's side. But whenever under old Gladioli have Manchester City ever lost 4 consecutive matches? Well, we can step into the DeLorean and have a look back. This could be value for Manchester City on that basis only, but Brighton are going to be very, very hard to beat. Let's take a walk through Man City. In all competitions, 3 consecutive defeats. Goodness me, can't remember when that last happened. And for me, it's all down to the new fangled Champions League. Here we go, spot of bother here. But this is a friendly, so we ignore that. We're talking competitive league season. Last time he had 3 consecutive defeats. Look at this. It's going to take a while, so get yourself some popcorn. I'll take you through another year, but just gives you an idea that this is part where Manchester City have never been before. 3 consecutive defeats. Highly unlikely Pep will take 4 consecutive defeats, really for the psychological welfare of his team. We're heading now to 2022. So I think I've belaboured my point here. It's a rarity. 3 consecutive defeats for Man City could be our angle in today. We know Brighton are going to be extremely competitive, so it's a risk. But are you going to side with Manchester City not losing a 4th consecutive match in all competitions? Liverpool and Aston Villa, I would give Aston Villa more credence here, were it not for the fact that they've been hugely impacted by this newfangled Champions League and how. Reminiscent of Manchester City, isn't it? Similar competitions where they're losing in as well. That was a disappointing performance, but it typifies the Champions League for traders. On paper, you're all over the Premier League side, Aston Villa here, but a 1-0 defeat to Club Brugge, disappointed, particularly with that away goal status for Aston Villa. Disappearing for a bit. They do have 2 goals in them away from home, but will they do that against Liverpool? Will Liverpool continue to impress? That was brilliant against Bayer Leverkusen. And it's just a reminder that perhaps Xabi Alonso is having second season syndrome at Leverkusen, already dropping points where they were unbeaten last season. It's going to be a fascinating match. There is a strong both teams to score bias for recent Premier League matches at home, and Liverpool have come from behind against the likes of Brighton. So Aston Villa do have it in them to score first. Possibility to take on an Aston Villa lead. The question here is, will the real Aston Villa turn up today? It's pre-international break, so a good opportunity for them to field a first 11 without European worries. English Championship, my first cue will be odds-on favourites in this competition. Leeds United, I don't think they won midweek, or did they? Let's have a look. 1-0 win for Millwall against Leeds. So Leeds will be looking to turn that around. They're far more accomplished at home with a run of 4 consecutive wins, as you saw there fleetingly. So in-play stats for English Championship, League 1, League 2. French League 1, Paris Saint-Germain stand out already. They're going to be affected pre-international, naturally. Monaco and Strasbourg. Lens against Nantes. I don't know why Nantes are not favoured. We can have a look at their very recent form, which is what Soccer 24 is excellent at. And indeed, Nantes can't buy a win at the moment. Scoring and conceding without winning. That could be an angle to take into this. But Lens on a run of 2 consecutive defeats, but do note against Champions League opponents PSG and Lille. At home, Well, no win in 3, failing to score in the last 3 for Lens. So you're going to have to make sure that the goal scoring outfit turns up today. Failing to score in 3 and your favourite. A Nantes on a 2-match losing streak, conceding 5 goals in the last 2 away, giving Lens a chance. Redemption style match, this one. Not in the best of form. The right price against the right team to end a poor sequence. That's how I would look at that match. French League 2. Just take a look at the odds-on favourites. I think Lorient newly relegated. Not too sure. Bundesliga today. Over 2.5 goals, please. If you're going to have a neutral play. Bayer Leverkusen have not been their usual readable selves as far as goals before half-time has been concerned. But really against Bochum, they should put that midweek defeat against Liverpool to bed with a return to 2+ goal scoring form, I think, unless the Champions League is going to take it out of them. It's post-Champions League, pre-international. It's a mess of a weekend. It really is. We're not getting a sight at any of these teams' true form because the Champions League is messing around with the fixture list. Dortmund and Mainz. St. Pauli, Bayern Munich will stand out. Newly promoted St. Pauli, highly unlikely to land a blow against Bayern Munich. Werder Bremen and Holstein Kiel will be looking for goals before half-time here. Leipzig have returned to something like their best. Home advantage. They do take a while to warm up, and their in-play stats don't often conceal good performances, i.e. they're not emphatic set of shots on and off target, but they do keep scoring. So watch out for that. 3 goals in the last home match. Losing to Liverpool and losing to Juve. It's no great harm, that. Mönchengladbach away from home. Well, recent win in a friendly. So they look like they're struggling, travelling. Both teams have scored in the last 3 away without them winning. So this looks a very readable match. As long as Leipzig are not affected post-Champions League, pre-international. Serie A, don't have a strong opinion with these, but newly promoted Parma would get an eye in. AC Milan really should be beating a side like Cagliari, but that's a bit lukewarm. Just similar to Man City's odds. Juve Torino, this is the Turin derby. It tends to go in Juventus's favour, particularly when they had Cristiano Ronaldo in the Juve side. If you look at the head-to-heads, they tend to be favouring Juventus, who at home, it's sacrilege basically if you lose to Torino at home. Head-to-heads, 0-0 last one. Juve in the 3 wins prior to that. So strongly favouring the old lady today in what is another derby. PSV Eindhoven stand out and NEC Nijmegen, both away favourites. PSV will be affected post-Champions League pre-international break. Plenty of other football of interest today. Real Madrid going through a real rough patch at the moment. Got that 1-3 loss midweek, but against the likes of Osasuna really should be good. But the home fans are not happy. You could get a pressured performance from Real Madrid in front of home support. It could work in the opposite way that it normally would. Lack of support, booing, picking out players like Tchouameni. It's really not looking good at Real Madrid's home ground at the moment. Villarreal against Alaves. Have a quick look at what's expected here. Villarreal Alaves. 3-1. Well, an emphatic home win is expected today. Villarreal scoring in the first half as well. So that's interesting. We'll be looking at that one. Very strong. And it fits in with the 1.62 quote. Don't forget, the research is done without knowing the pre-match odds, which I think is very good, because if the research marries with the odds, you've got a good green light to target that match. Granada, newly relegated. Cadiz, newly relegated. We'll just get on the watch list today. Live stream at 2:30 p.m. And I'll be having a look at this. This is soccerscanner.net. I'm trying to look at ways for you to get an over 2.5 goal angle in without paying through the nose. This is £10 a month for Soccer Scanner. This is my backup scanner, in-play scanner to the in-play guru. So this will be interesting. They have a specific 2.5 goal. So that will be fascinating. It'll be interesting to see, working through, how accurate this is. And you can look down through the leagues. I don't see a drop down to take me further down, but this could be the recent or matches due for a kickoff recently. I'm not sure. But we've got head-to-heads here, over 2.5 goals. That was what I mentioned when we were looking at dissecting the SPL in the live stream last week. Head-to-heads. Were they head-to-heads accurate? Oh, sorry, recent and full of goals. Head-to-head games considered, 10 in total. So the more head-to-heads played, but we're not getting the negative here. We're not getting the dates of the head-to-heads. Average of all stats, so 98% chance of overs. This goes in time order as well. So I'll be looking for a match in a league that I'm interested in. These are all lower tier stuff, and the problem with that, lack of tradability. Home team last 10 games at home. That's what we like to see. Home team last 10 home and away. So we've got the home form for the home team. We've got the overall team for the home team. Home team last five games at home. That's what we want to see. We want to see green, basically. If green is anything above 60 or 70%. Away team last 10 games. So we've got a specific match today. Let's see if we can find that. So we've got Liverpool, Aston Villa. Head-to-heads 40%. But don't forget, we've got new managers for both teams. So that might be an irrelevance here. Average of 70%. 5 head-to-heads games considered. So I don't know if these are stats based on the head-to-heads. So it's a bit confusing. Home team. No, it's not, is it? Home team last 10 at home. 60% overs. I want to see green. Ideally, you want to see green with the head-to-heads, and then you'll have a green light. So that, for me, would interest me. Look at that Marseille match, for example. Oh, sorry, that played yesterday, didn't it? Any other Premier League match where you think it's going to be overs today? Let's have a look. I would look Brighton and Manchester City. So we'll put that one in. So for £10 a month, it's reasonable value, isn't it? Brighton against Man City, 71% head-to-head overs, and it's all green. So that could give you a good opportunity for over 2.5 goals, couldn't it? That's the idea. But I think Man City would take a 0-1 today. Don't forget, 3 consecutive defeats. It's unheard of for Man City in a competitive league fixture under Guardiola. I don't know when that's been at last. Hope you can join me for a live stream later on. 2:30 p.m. start, and I think all of my Sunday live streams from now on will be free to view for everybody. We're only getting 7 or 8 people turning up on a Sunday. I'm going to open that up to everyone on YouTube. Hopefully we can get more numbers on board, but Saturdays will be predominantly for members only. Haven't done the video yet, but live. Come and join me if you can at 2:30 p.m. They don't make it easy, of course. Post Champions League, pre-international break. We're not getting a break, but we'll see. And we can have a look at this throughout the afternoon, along with In-Play Guru. I like this for over 2.5 goals. It's similar to Soccer Stats, but it's in a very good format. What I do here, hover my mouse over a team that I'm interested in or a match I'm interested in. What we're looking at first is that 2.5 plus column at the top. Pre-match analysis, you see 40, 50, 60, 50. It's very poor over 2.5 goals for these two in recent matches. Looking at head-to-heads, well, 0-0, 0-1, 0-1, 0-0 in 4 of the last 5 head-to-heads. Note the head-to-heads were recent. That doesn't suggest over 2.5 goals for me either, does it? It suggests corner counts, that's for sure. Looking at recent matches, we've had 2 consecutive head-to-heads, 2 consecutive over 2.5 goals for Melbourne. and we've had 3 and 5 for Brisbane Roar. Notably, Brisbane Roar do tend to concede 2 goals in the Australian A-League, so that could open the door for overs, but that's what puts me off. What we want is a green light throughout. So if you find out a match which has got a green light throughout, you can see here the overs count for the pre-match analysis is very poor. Not so here. Kashima Antlers, you can see 80%, 70%, 80%, 60% already has you excited. Head-to-heads don't, or do they? 2 of them have been 1-1 in 2023, and the last one was a 0-3. So 2 goals, I like 2 goals. It's hinting at over 2.5 goals. Looking at recent history, you can see 4 of the last 5 Kashima Antler matches finished overs, and you'll notice 57th minute, no goals yet, and 4 of the last 5 finished overs. We've had 1-0 at half-time recently, and that finished 0-0. So this one for me has the hint that we could see at least 2 goals at some point. So you might see some value getting involved now, but no shots on target at all. So looks on paper like a good overs match, which I would look for, but they've just simply not turned up. 7 shots off target, no shots on. So we'll play around with that today. I'm confident enough in my overs selections, I think, now. That will just back it up for you. See you at 2:30 p.m. for a live stream. And don't forget, it's pre-international break, so the last time we can attack this league football for a couple of weeks.